Hello and welcome to the Cowboy Chronicles, the Oklahoman's Oklahoma State football podcast. I am your host, Scott Wright, joined by Marshall Scott once again, filling in on an emergency basis. Very much appreciated. Lots of plans went awry today here in Stillwater, and that was one of them. So thanks for joining in again.
Absolutely. Who am I relieving for? I didn't ever get that.
It's a list.
Okay.
It's a list. Like I went through the whole bullpen, and I was like, I got to bring in the left.
Got called up from AAA.
Yeah, exactly.
This morning, just got on the
Yes.
flight. I don't hardly know baseball at all. That's the extent of my reference.
Well, that was a good one. I'll give you credit for that. I think I haven't actually done a show since the last time you were on with me, if I remember correctly, because I was out last week, had some stuff going on medically that I had to tend to, so didn't get to do a show, which means got to go back 2 weeks to find the last person who won the picks contest, and that was my buddy Justin, who I actually have known since I was young, out in Yukon. He's invited me to stop by his tailgate multiple times this season. I haven't made it, but I'm going to. Justin, I swear, I'm going to swing by. Kansas State week, I'm coming by.
Depending on what the food is, Justin, I'll be there.
Exactly.
Well.
Marshall might be coming along with me, but Justin, this one is for you, and this is Excalibur, which is actually kind of fitting. So UConn, it was called Independence Middle School. IMS was the 7th and 8th grade building, and the like academic award group, whatever, all the kids with the best grades. That was Excalibur. Ooh. So it's fitting that I would be drinking it for someone who was a UConn boy. Nice. So. What you got today?
I've got the Astro Dog. I've got no. I like astronauts. I like dogs.
There you go.
That's the extent of that. The only middle schools or schools I ever went to just was the name of the town. So I didn't ever get anything cool like that. It was Hinton Elementary, Tuttle Middle High School. It didn't have any cool names that went on with that.
Very nice. Still solid, nonetheless. We'll talk a little bit of football. Not a lot. It's a tough time to talk football right now. Yeah. Talk a little bit about some coaches, some players, some personnel things that we can discuss. Here's the most interesting thing that I keep coming back to as we're covering this team. Before I do get any farther, just like Justin won this beer, you can win one next week on the show. Put your score prediction down in the comments for the Oklahoma State and who they play this week. Kansas this week. Get to see the new stadium.
Yes.
Or not, the rebuilt, refurbished stadium. Looking forward to that. Okay, but the thing that I keep coming back to that fascinates me about this season is how perfect Doug Meacham seems to be for the spot he's in. Now, I don't know what all the behind-the-scenes stuff looks like and what kind of a head coach he actually is, but as far as being a leader and being the face that has to come and talk to us every Monday, I think he's been fantastic. Yeah,
it's a very imperfect spot to be in.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and I've always sort of wondered, like, okay, so say somebody else got the interim job, what would the media availabilities be like? Would it be way different? I think everybody in that room at this point is very understanding of the spot that Oklahoma State football is in right now.
Right.
So maybe others could have navigated that as well. But yeah, I just think with the way that he's handled things, with obviously a love and knowledge still of Oklahoma State, he's been able to somewhat bridge the gap of, the Gundy era into, what's next. Pretty forward thinking. He got into, players in the portal still being on the roster today, and right. I asked him if that was a hard thing for him to sort of come to grips with, and he said, Pat Jones was my coach. What do you think? So,
right.
And so I thought that was sort of funny. But yeah, it's been relatively light. It's been, upbeat, and it's, given the results on the field, it's not an easy thing to do, I imagine. So yeah, I definitely agree that I think Meacham, in an imperfect situation, has handled it as about as good as he could.
Yeah, the one kind of elephant in the room along these lines is the Josh Ford situation. There's a lot that's unclear. Ford and his family haven't really talked about it. It's been some stuff that's been said, and the people that have said it, I don't think have any reason to be lying about it. But we don't know a whole lot of details, and we won't get into that.
And it's hard, with 120 guys on the roster. I imagine, if it is real, if it's not real, whatever. I imagine it's hard keeping 120 players in this situation, and they're getting beat every weekend. I imagine it's hard to keep that group, all of them, happy all the time.
Right, exactly. But you mentioned that they do have a couple of guys, for sure one that has played since going into the portal, and Grant Segrin. Noah McKinney at least says that he is going to continue playing, seems to still be with the team, been injured as far as we know. We'll see. But Had you been put in that situation and been named the interim coach, which I heard you were top 3?
I was in the running.
Yep.
Yep.
Would you have handled it the way that Meacham has? I mean, you've got Demarion Thomas is redshirting, staying with the team and still practicing. You got guys that have gone in the portal, guys that are now doing both. So,
yeah, I don't think it does you or any interim coach much good fighting the portal in the modern world. Like it's tough enough for head coaches, long-term head coaches, in their battles with the portal. I think as an interim coach, you've got to be somewhat understanding of, hey, these kids now make money, so they would like to make money for as long as they can. So if they could redshirt and get an extra year, and that's another year that you can get paid, I just think that's just sort of how this has to play out at this point. It stinks for OSU that they got the 30-day window, and then a couple weeks later it changes towards a 15-day window, and who knows if anything's different after that. But I think it's just what you have to do as an interim coach in today's world. You've got to be okay with guys entering the portal. You're not going to have a football team if you put a hard line down. We sort of discussed in the press box. Guys entering the portal right now, you're essentially entering a negotiating window earlier than you would have before. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to leave Oklahoma State, but you've got the opportunity to hear what Oklahoma State's sort of going through, to be firsthand of, hey, this is what this locker room looks like. You probably get a little bit of okay, these are the coaches that could be. And then you're hearing from the outside of sort of offers that there. So I just think in the modern world, it makes so much more sense for players in the spot to enter the portal. And I think fighting too hard against that, you're just going into a battle that you're not going to win. So I think that he's handled it about as good as he could in that aspect.
I would agree. You brought up the change in the portal window, which, I mean, the NCAA is never going to be able to do everything right. But I don't like anything where they change a rule in the middle of a season.
Yeah.
When two different parties are going to be affected in two different ways, and that's exactly what happened with the I think there was 3 or 4 firings before the rule change. Oklahoma State being one of them, where it triggered the automatic 30-day window as soon as Gunny was fired. The new rule is a 15-day window that doesn't start until the next permanent coach is hired.
Okay.
And so it's going to completely change the window for those guys. And then, of course, the regular window doesn't open until January sometime. This is one where typically I've kind of thought what they've done with the portal has been okay.
Yep.
But this one feels like it. I don't know. This one feels like they're going in the opposite direction, where this is more beneficial to the team than it is to the player. Because now, if you're playing for a team and the coach gets fired in week 3. Now, do you redshirt and just walk away from the team? You can't go in the portal at that point now. Say this happens next year. Anyway, it's a kind of a backwards thing for the way things have been trending.
Yeah.
Feels like they're going the other direction on this one.
It's crazy because there's almost been no gray area in who's got the power in college athletics. For so long, it was just the universities.
Right.
And then you mentioned these last, basically since like 2018. I think that was the year that Jalen McCleskey entered the portal, and that's like the first that I really the portal is here. That was like the portal is here moment for me, is when Jalen McCleskey entered. But so since then, everything's been trending the players' direction. So I think there does need to be a little bit of give and take. But I'm with you. I don't think changing it in the middle of the year does anybody really any good. But with all of this said, I don't think Oklahoma State was hurt too crazy bad in the portal. All things considered, you lose Dylan Smith. That's certainly less than ideal. David Kabongo was a big loss. Josh Ford was obviously a big loss. But I think all things considered, they've done all right. A guy like Landon Cleveland to me is super impressive. That he's a true sophomore, could have redshirted and stayed, could have redshirted and portaled, and it's just playing still. So I think all things considered, it's certainly not ideal to have a 30-day portal window in the middle of your season, but I think they've done a semi-decent job of managing it.
Yeah, I agree. I could have seen another 4 or 5 guys who are playing meaningful minutes right now that I could have seen going in the portal. So, I'm with you. I think they've done a very good job with it. Not portal guys, but along the lines of guys who are only going to play 4 games. Doug Meacham teased some true freshmen coming along now, and 2 that I'm very curious. Well, the only 2 he mentioned, I'm very curious about both of them. Matrell Lopez, who I've written a couple of stories about from his days at Idabel, and then Carl Vion Young, who was I think ended up maybe being the highest rated recruit according to 247 in the class, even though nobody knew anything about him when he got his OSU offer, and we were all scrambling to figure out who this kid was. Fascinated by both of those guys, but just your thoughts on some freshmen getting a chance to maybe play this week.
Yeah, so with 4 games left, these freshmen can play all 4 games and still maintain their red shirt, so that's why this is starting to happen now. Machado Lopez, he was the first commit in that 25 class.
Right.
These numbers all run together for me now. Being a small school, Eastern Oklahoma kid, Idabel's way east compared to Medill, but I like those kind of guys. They spoke really glowingly of him today. Gavin Freeman spoke really glowingly of him today. He was trying to explain to you something about a 1-2. I didn't fully follow him all the way there, but he sounded like he knew what he was talking about.
Absolutely.
So I took it.
And Matrell has a good one.
Yeah,
that's what I got.
Yeah, so I took him at his word for that. Carl Vion Young, you mentioned. He mentioned Carl Sean Young, who was a Oklahoma State basketball commit for a while. I think he left in the Boynton firing. I think that's whenever he decommitted. But yeah, like you mentioned, he didn't have like pages on the scouting services. Nobody really knew who he was. He's a semi-late edition, if I remember correctly. And then, all these, usually when a guy commits to a Power 5 program, all these scouting services then are like, okay, I better look at this guy. Yeah. They looked at him, they liked what they saw. So Trip White spoke very highly of him, mentioned that he hits hard like 3 times, which, coming from a guy who played in the SEC last year, I like to hear that. And something that Mitra mentioned is that this is going to push, especially maybe some of those guys on special teams who are maybe, coasting through the year.
Right.
They're comfortable in their spot that, hey, there's a freshman here that really wants to play, really wants to get on the field. You're going to have to compete a little harder to get that. So, tide might raise a little bit. Is it enough to really make a difference on the scoreboard? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But it's at least an exciting portion of the year whenever all year it's been guys leaving, guys being injured. Yeah. To have a new influx of guys, I think it's at least somewhat exciting.
Yeah, I agree, and we'll see. Like I said, those are the only 2 you mentioned. We'll see who else maybe joins that group. I could see a variety of guys potentially being in the mix there. They've been rotating through guys in the secondary a lot anyway. Played a couple of guys back there, at least one. Kobe Foreman, I know, has played some back there. But so we'll see what else happens, and that's at least something interesting. With guys who maybe have a chance to stick around, or maybe are playing for a job somewhere else next year. We don't know at this point, but something intriguing to watch over the next few days. Matrell Lopez is a kid. Like I said, I wrote a couple of stories about him. I found myself in a very difficult position because I interviewed him and his dad, and his dad was a fantastic guy. Talked to me. He had a line talking about Medill's location. He says, we're 3 hours from everywhere, which feels very much accurate. Yeah. But I interviewed him for a story that was going to run later in the summer, about a month ahead of when it was going to run. And about 2 weeks after the interview, his dad passed away unexpectedly. And so, I had this great interview from then, and then sort of had to write it and frame it around his passing, and obviously a tough thing for his family and the Medill community. This was a guy who was
the Idabel community.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got Medill on my mind because you're sitting here. The Idabel community. This is a guy who had been like a little league coach and was coaching softball at the high school and baseball at the high school. Maybe he did both. Maybe he did fall softball and spring baseball.
I've seen a lot of interesting coaching combinations in my various small school stops, so I could see that.
Yeah, exactly. And Matrell has a twin sister who's the same age, who's also a very good athlete. So they both got to play for him. They were both shortstops on their respective teams. All of that. Very fascinating story.
It is.
Really cool kid that I'm looking forward to seeing on the field at some point here soon. So. Lots of crazy movement in the coaching world in terms of firings. Brian Kelly out at LSU. Of course, we've had James Franklin at Penn State, Billy Napier at Florida. Is OSU the next job after those 3? Is it the 4th best job on the market right now?
I think I personally think so. I could be convinced. I think it depends on what you view Arkansas as.
Right.
And I think that could be different for various coaches. I think if you really like the SEC, obviously you're going to have a lot of money, you're going to have a lot of eyeballs. If that's something that you feel like you can recruit to, then all right. They are spending, NIL versus salary cap, whatever, it gets a little like, okay, how's this going to work exactly? But it does appear as if Arkansas, with John Calipari, is rev sharing more into basketball than maybe other schools would. So that's something that a football coach would have to overcome a little bit. But then I think, Big 12, you think support, obviously. You think, and I'm just going off what Chad Weiberg has been saying. He feels very confident that the money is going to be there in terms of building a roster. And then playing in the Big 12, the Big 12, on a good year could maybe sneak 3 teams into the college football playoff.
Right.
On a decent year, it's going to have 2 teams in, but at the very least, it's going to have 1 team in. So if you can come in and win the Big 12, which I imagine a lot of coaches would think is easier than finishing at Arkansas in the top 4 of the SEC or whatever like that, that's obviously a path. What I do think gets interesting, I think we talked about this the last time I was on, was, okay, say, Lane Kiffin's the target for LSU in Florida. Is Oklahoma State a better job than Ole Miss? And then depending on who Ole Miss takes, is Oklahoma State a better job than wherever that person came from? So I think that's where it gets tricky for Ole Miss, or for Oklahoma State, is sort of the domino effect. But I think, all things considered, there's another reason why it was good that Oklahoma State maybe went first in terms of starting this process.
Right.
That you can be as prepared as possible. It doesn't necessarily mean, say Oklahoma State wants Alex Golesh. Well, at this point, Alex Golesh might be like, well, I might wait and see sort of what's all out there. But it at least gives Oklahoma State an opportunity to get its ducks in a row. That way, if this does get as crazy as it could, because, Oklahoma, if this really goes south, this was sort of viewed as a make it or break it year for Brent Venables.
Right.
Maybe they take a step back off that just because of how crazy the carousel is going to be.
Right.
But it's a tough end of their schedule. Say that job comes open. Say Auburn, it looks like it's going to come open. Say Kentucky comes open. So it could get a little weird. So I think Oklahoma State moving as early as it did might have helped, neglect some of that stuff that they can have their ducks in a row.
Yeah, I agree. Getting your name on the board early, I think, is going to end up being valuable. And you can say whatever you want about, what Gundy deserved, if coaching out the year, whatever. Oklahoma State getting their name on the board early is going to turn out to be a huge benefit, I think, in this whole process, as long as they're able to take advantage of it. If we hit Thanksgiving weekend and there's movement starting, and it's Virginia Tech. Well, Virginia Tech might be a different case, because they might just bring Shane Beamer in, and that's not somebody that was necessarily going anywhere else.
But then South Carolina's open.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, but yeah, all in all, I think they did the right thing, for as weird as it might have been at the time, and as awkwardly as it might have been handled, doing it on a Tuesday and all of that. I think it's going to be the right decision in the end. Yeah,
Sunday would have been more ideal in that, whenever you really look at the week that was. But I think early after you lost to Tulsa, because when you lose to Tulsa, I think a section of the fan base is certainly going to be, ready to move on. Obviously, it hasn't gotten much better. I don't know that had nothing changed that much would have gotten much better anyways. So I think getting the start as quick as they did, and it does seem abrupt given how long Gundy was here, but I think that's definitely helped them going into this.
Yeah, I agree. And now it's kind of like Oklahoma State feels relevant in this conversation right now, whereas if they were doing it right now and Penn State, Florida, and LSU are already open, then you're like, oh, Oklahoma State's open too. Yeah. You're kind of an also-ran, it feels like, at that point. So I think there's some value here in being where they're at. And I agree, the domino effect and coaches' patience. If you are goalish, how long do you wait before you jump at something?
Yeah, if you really want a job this cycle.
Right.
Yeah, and say, man, I have no idea. But say Oklahoma State is like ready to offer you. That's going to be tough, considering it's like, okay, am I going to hang out and then see what Lane Kiffin does?
Right.
Or do I just sort of take this for sure job that, and again, not for sure job, but an offer that's already on the table. So yeah, I think them getting out as early as they did will end up being a huge benefit for them.
Okay, I did not prep you for this. I didn't tell you this was coming, because it was just a thought that hit my head. But my columnist Joe Masato, our columnist at the Oklahoman,
he's my columnist as well.
He's your columnist too. Over the last month, he's been doing a weekly series on candidates. We're going to have 50 guys at the end, 10 a week for 5 weeks. So he did people with Oklahoma ties or OSU ties. He did current head coaches, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and the last one is a wild card. And now now for him this matters, but nobody that's been on any of the first 4 lists can be on the 5th list. Or for instance, Jim Knowles was on the first list but for having OSU ties. Couldn't be on the defensive coordinator list.
Okay.
Anyway, that's all irrelevant, but the readers need to go check it out. That's all I'm getting at, because I'm really looking forward to this list. But my question for you is there a wild card out there? Somebody that's not getting a lot of talk that you think could be more significant? And again, I realize I didn't prep you for this. I didn't tell you this was coming. So you might not have anybody off the top of your brain, but I was just hit me that I should ask you.
I think whenever I think wild card, just in this cycle in general, I think of, and my brain is going, Spider 2Y Banana, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, got fired from the NFL recently, John Gruden.
Okay.
I don't think Oklahoma State's gonna hire John Gruden, but that's like the type of name that keeps getting thrown out there for these jobs.
Right.
I sort of think it's maybe in the, it feels like anyways, and John Gruden, it seems like based on his social media presence, really still very much loves football.
Yes.
But it sort of has the feeling of like a Bill Belichick or Deion Sanders-esque like headline grabbing hire, maybe more so than an actual like, hey, this person is ready to hit the ground running in a college football world type of hire. So yeah, that's like a name that gets tossed out for every job. They're like, well, why didn't John Gruden coach this? And it's like, I don't know how that's going to go, but it would be entertaining. It would be entertaining.
It absolutely would be. And to your point, I get emails. I don't know if you do too, but I get emails from like offshore gambling websites.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, oh, the odds for the LSU job. Here it is, and somewhere in the like bottom third, John Gruden is going to be in there.
Yep, yeah, he's everywhere. I think it would be, just for the spectacle of it, him in the SEC would be a blast. I don't think that Oklahoma State will or should hire John Gruden.
Yeah,
I just want to make that as clear as possible.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree. I'm gonna throw out a random one that a name that I just came across doing some research the other day that has some OSU ties, and I haven't been seeing his name anywhere, but he's a guy that's been with some big name programs, never been a head coach. I don't even know that he's actually been a coordinator. He's currently the assistant head coach at Alabama, Robert Gillespie.
Okay.
Spent like 2 years at OSU, 12 and 13 or 14, 15, somewhere in that range. So it's not like he has significant OSU ties.
Well, people are tying Alex Golish to OSU despite him being a GA for 1 year.
He was the GA in 2008. I covered the team in 2008. I feel like he's like just like this far ahead of me in terms of our ties to the OSU coaching situation. So other than the fact that he's like actually been a successful coach and might be hired for the job, that's a different story.
I wouldn't count you out yet.
I've counted me out yet. Chad hasn't answered a single one of my calls for the last month, so I've counted myself out already. I want to say that it's going to be one of these guys that we've all been talking about for weeks, but with Chad, I've kind of learned, don't plan on it being a typical process in terms of what you expect.
Yeah, I realized, I think it was Friday, maybe it was Saturday, that I hadn't heard Colin Klein's name in a while. I feel like when the job initially opened, that was like a name that was on everybody's list was Colin Klein.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that name in a while. And then because Chad is so good at, keeping things quiet, I'm like, maybe this is all a smokescreen. Maybe we're just hearing Zach Robinson, Alex Golish because it's actually Klein. And that's where my head's at when trying to track what Chad Weiberger's doing on a coaching search.
Right. Yeah. It's tricky with him. It absolutely is. Going to be fascinating to see how it goes. I assume we're not going to probably hear anything. Most likely we hear something the day after or the Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend. It's kind of my assumption.
I sort of wonder, because of how crazy the cycle is going to be, I sort of think like a Pete Thamel or Pete Nakos or any Pete that, maybe Pistol, might leak something a little early.
Yeah.
And I think this could be a year where somebody's coaching a football game that is going to be coaching another team next year, and it's publicly known that is happening. And it's just so hard because of the portal, because these teams really want to get in by January 2nd when the portal opens, that you've got basically no time to, do anything. You can't. You're going to work through Christmas, I guess, and get a coach hammered out if you're Florida or Penn State or something like that. So I don't know that that's going to necessarily be Oklahoma State, but I wonder about some of these big jobs. If Penn State's going to announce that they've hired so-and-so who's coaching somewhere else right now,
Right.
and then it's just going to be well understood. And it sort of gets that way with, you think NFL coordinators late in the playoffs. It's like, yeah, this guy's going to coach, like the Lions coordinators. They were both publicly known that they were going to go coach different teams.
Yeah.
I think while the Lions were still playing last year. So I'm sort of wondering if college football has taken a step into that world, and sort of what that first step is going to look like, and how chaotic it's going to be in terms of portal and players and all that stuff.
Yeah, I absolutely think that deals will be done next 2 weeks, probably by the time OSU is playing Kansas State here. I think there will be multiple deals done with coaches, and there's a good chance that OSU is one of them. And then they'll spend the last 2 weeks of the month trying to keep it quiet.
Yeah.
But if something like that happens with one of the Petes or someone else, the immediate domino effect will be fascinating at that point.
Because then do the floodgates just open, and now it's like, hey, look, these are all the coaches that are going
Yes,
places.
exactly. Because then you want your name out there, I think. I mean, for the most part, more so than you want to keep it quiet probably at that point.
Yeah.
And you want to jump into the fray. So.
Yeah, because if you're LSU and let's say LSU has Lane Kiffin somehow. If you're LSU, you might sort of want prospects, potential portal players to know that Lane Kiffin is coming to your school.
Yes.
So then does all of a sudden, Florida go like, oh yeah, well we've got whoever, and Penn State's like, oh yeah, well this is who's coaching here, and then the floodgates just open. So I don't know. I think this could get a little weird here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I completely agree, and as much of a pain as it's going to be from a journalism perspective, I'm really excited to just watch it play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go ahead and talk about the game. I think the 23.5 roughly was what the Kansas Jayhawks are favored by. Okay. You think they cover?
No.
Nope.
I just
no confidence in the Jayhawks right now?
Does Kansas cover?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. No, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I do think the Jayhawks probably cover. It's another weird spot where, Oklahoma State goes to Lubbock last week after Texas Tech lost a game that they really wanted to win.
Right.
And then, Kansas, I think it was like 2008 the last time they beat Kansas State.
Right.
And, Kansas State struggled this year. Kansas has been all right this year.
Yeah.
They go in and get blown out, and it's like, okay, well, now Oklahoma State's going to Lawrence to play this team that's a little ticked off.
Yeah.
And then it's just not. It's the offense hadn't been good. Maybe they get Zane Flores back. Maybe Kevin Johns plus Zane Flores equals something better than what was previously seen. But I just don't have a ton of faith in the offense scoring points, and it's hard to cover a whole lot of games whenever you're not scoring points.
Same. I'm there with you. Here's something that I've been kicking around, and I don't get the feeling after talking to Meacham, especially today, that this is going to that it feels like the Sam Jackson experiment is mostly over.
It does
at this point, and I'm asking this as someone who's among the highest on the still on the Zane train. I'm not convinced he's going to change the world, but I think he's more talented than he's getting credit for because of a lot of other things that are going on with this team right now. But this team needs to run the football. I've been a little surprised that we haven't seen Sam Jackson running more in just kind of some designed runs. But two, I feel like if they had done that more or would do that more, they would open up something in the offense that Zane can't do.
Yeah.
Because he can run, but he doesn't have the same quick twitch as Sam. So, but do you feel like the Sam experiment has kind of run its course at this point?
Yeah,
for the most part?
Just based on the way that Meacham was talking, and I went back and looked at the PFF numbers for the Texas Tech game, and I don't think that Sam Jackson per PFF threw a pass 10 yards down the field.
Right.
And some of that's probably to do with the edge rushers that Texas Tech has. You don't want to wait too long for any plays to develop and get the ball out. So I get that to a certain extent. But yeah, the passing game has just been so non-existent that, to Sam Jackson's credit, it was non-existent when Zane was in there. But like you mentioned, a lot was going on when Zane took over.
Yeah.
So you wonder with Kevin Johns, if he wants a more quarterback.
Right.
But yeah, I think the run game concerns are valid. It reminds me a lot of BYU last year whenever Oklahoma State could not run the ball for the life of it. All of a sudden, a guy that has the threat of pulling a zone read off all of a sudden opens the offense, and they played really well in that BYU game. Zane can pull the rock and run Garrett Rangel-esque.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say, but I do think it would limit, just because they're not going to be as worried about a potential zone read pool. They're probably going to just crash hard on Rodney Fields or Trent Haaland or whoever it is. I think that it's going to hurt the run game a little bit, but I think if you're Oklahoma State, you're hoping the pass game gets propped up a little bit just by the threat of a downfield throw at this point.
Right. Yeah, I agree. The improvement of the offensive line, I think, has been one of the more impressive developments. And now you've got a different play caller with the quarterback that you had for a few weeks. It's almost like the fourth iteration of this offense, really.
Yeah.
When you look at what you had the first 3 games, and then Meacham as the play caller, then Johns, but with Jackson at quarterback, and now you've got Johns with a real,
maybe fifth. He had 3 series with Haas.
That's exactly right. Yes, and then everything else changed there too. All right. Well, I think we're on the same page that the Kansas handles business this week and takes care of things. So let's go ahead and move on to the Stone Cloud 6-pack.
All right.
It's a special one this week. 2 drafts.
2 drafts.
2 drafts. I'm very
Double the
excited.
drafts, double the fun.
That's exactly right. So our first draft is going to be Oklahoma State players that the new coaching staff, whenever they get here, should try to keep. And portal guys are open too. They're available if you want to go and try to convince one of those guys to come back. They're on the table. But anybody that's been on the roster at any point this season that the new coaching staff should try to keep in terms of the most important guys. So with that, I'll give you the floor for the first pick.
Yeah, I think there are a couple obvious gets here. I'm going to go to a position that the NFL really values, and that in turn would make me think a college team would very value this. Right. Wendell Gregory is who I'm going with. He's an edge rusher. He hadn't gotten a sack, I don't believe, since the first game, but it's been clear that he is very good at football.
Yes.
There was that tackle for loss that he had in that Texas Tech game where he basically threw whoever was trying to block him and then grabbed the ball carrier and threw him down. In almost one quick, smooth motion. So he's still young. He's a redshirt freshman this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
Freaky good. A redshirt freshman, got the size, got everything to be, future NFL edge rusher.
Yes.
So that's who I'll go with for my first pick.
He absolutely would have been my first pick as well. I think it's a really strong first pick. I think it's going to be really hard to keep him because I think there's, he's an SEC country guy, and there's going to be some SEC teams that want him on their roster. That said, that's who I would have gone with my first pick as well. My first pick, I've bounced around a lot on this. There's about 3 guys that I like in this spot. And I'm going to go with one that maybe I'm not necessarily following the NFL model here, but I'm going to go with Rodney Fields Jr.
That was it was either Rodney or Wendell for me. So.
Yeah, and running backs are a little bit devalued at the NFL level, and I think that's trickling down to college a little bit more so now. But I feel like this kid is something pretty special. It feels like we're watching an early Justice Hill.
That's what I was
again.
going to say.
Yeah, that's what it feels like we're watching right now, and I think that he's a guy that you want to keep around. Plus, he's a guy that really cares about being a Cowboy. I think he's a great guy. He's not always the most chatty guy with us in the media, but he's always nice to us and always tries to help and be that guy. So appreciate him. He cares about being here. And I think he's a great guy to keep around and be able to have as a focal point of your offense.
I love that. For my second pick, I'll go to another position that they value very much in the NFL. I'm going to go with Nuku Mafi.
Oh, very nice. I like that.
He's a redshirt freshman playing offensive tackle, left tackle, much less, defending blind sides on a team that's not very good. But weirdly, in like 2023, for example, it was like, hey, this team is pretty good, but is this offensive line going to, now all of a sudden it's like, hey, this team isn't very good, but the offensive line's doing all right. So, I think just the confidence that they had in him to start him at the beginning of the year at right tackle. Right. When they bring in Markel Samuel to play left tackle, and then when Samuel goes down, they just said, all right, Nuku, go over there. So he's a massive dude. There's obviously another offensive tackle that I could have selected here who is in the portal, but I'm going to fall back on, the staff picked Nuku first over Grant Seagren because he was playing first. Yeah. And then whenever the left tackle went down, instead of just putting Grant Seagren at left tackle, they moved Nuku over there. So that's who I'm going to go with for my second pick. If Oklahoma State's last 8 years have showed us anything, is that an offensive line rather valuable in this.
Yes.
Thing. So I'm going to go with Nuku Mafi at left tackle.
And not only that, to detract from my own pick and speak to both of yours, if you look at what Texas Tech did, and I'm not suggesting that Oklahoma State's going to have Texas Tech type money flowing into the program all of a sudden, the way they did with Cody Campbell. But you look at that team, they didn't go out and get the most expensive quarterback.
Yeah.
They went and got the best linemen on both sides of the ball that they could, and linebackers on defense, edge rusher guys. And that's where they built that team from. And I think that's the way to do it right now in this game, because you're going to be able to find skill guys who have speed and some talent that you can work with. Again, taken away from my own pick, but I think that's the most important factor in building a program in this current era, is being able to identify those guys and get them on your team. So I like that pick a lot. And from talking to Nuku earlier in the year, he really hadn't even played right tackle that much. He would work on it some, but he was mostly a left tackle, and jumps in over there and wins the job at right tackle with really just fall camp to prepare him. So I like that pick a lot. My second pick, I'm going into the portal, and I'm going to try to pull Josh Ford back.
I love that.
I really like the potential that this kid has, and I like, beyond potential, what he's shown from a physicality standpoint as a guy. And I know that he's not a superstar right now, but he's 16. He's played 16 games in his career. He played as a true freshman. Tight ends almost always redshirt. It's very rare that you see a true freshman get in and play as much as he did at the tight end position last year. I went and somebody tweeted at me after I had posted that he was leaving. It's not like we lost Brandon Pettigrew. Well, now I got to go look up Brandon Pettigrew's first 16 games, and he had a couple of more catches for about 30 more yards, maybe one more touchdown from a receiving standpoint.
On a team that probably had less weapons than,
Right.
and that's not to say, obviously this Oklahoma State team not very good, but there are a ton of receivers, ton of mouths to feed.
Right.
That I don't know if that was necessarily the case whenever Brandon Pettigrew.
Exactly. He goes on and has 2 great years. I think is the best tight end of the Gundy era, and was a first-round draft.
Definitely the best tight end.
Okay. All right.
There's not a whole lot of debate.
Right.
Blake Jarwin, a nice second place.
Yes, exactly. And just for fun, I went, because I am a Colts fan, and I was curious about what Tyler Warren's early career looked like. And if you take Tyler Warren's first 2 years playing, not counting his freshman redshirting year, so really 3 years, he wasn't as productive as a receiver as Ford has been already to this point in his career. So that said, I think he's got the physicality, he's got the size. We know he's already getting some pretty impressive looks from other teams at this point. So I'm going to try to pull him back into the fold.
Yeah, and Josh Ford didn't redshirt, which some might look at as a knock on. Now he is redshirting. So
yes,
now
exactly.
There's the potential to have him that extra year.
Right.
So yeah, I like that pick. I definitely like that pick. For my third and final pick of this portion of the draft, I'm going to go with a guy that doesn't have a lot of film, but it was electric whenever he was in there, Haas Haney.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, quarterback is obviously quarterback, very important position in the world of football. I save him for pick 3 just because it's like, how much stock do I want to put in 2 really good drives against an FCS team that I haven't checked in on since, but I'm going to assume they're not maybe lighting the world on fire, UT Martin. But what I saw was a lot of fun. I think mobile quarterbacks, and this was something that Gundy mentioned while Spencer Sanders was playing, and then it made no sense to me why Alan Bowman all of a sudden was the quarterback. But Gundy mentioned that a quarterback that can move is almost like a necessity these days.
Right.
And then they went out and got Alan Bowman, and I was like, this is not what you've been telling me the last 4 years, so that was a little confusing. But his movement ability, I think about the throw to Terrell Davis whenever he was rolling to his left and flipped his hips. I think about that throw like 3 times a day still. That's who I'm going to go with. I wanted to draft him. I didn't want to draft him too high just because I don't want to put a ridiculous amount of stock into an FCS game.
Right.
But that's where I'll go. I got a lot of NFL value, an edge rusher, a tackle, and a quarterback on my list.
Right. Exactly. And I cannot disagree with that pick either. I think, even if you go out and you're going to probably have to rebuild the majority of your quarterback room anyway.
Absolutely.
So you're going to be in the market for other guys. You're going to need guys that you can bring in and utilize. I like that because of the dual threat capabilities. We didn't see him throw a ton of passes. The third series, he throws 3 incompletions, but he had already broken his foot at that point. So I give him a little bit of a pass on that one. Throwing with a broken foot doesn't sound fun. So
think of Mason Rudolph 2015, that Bedlam game. He
Yes.
came in. I was freezing in the stands. My wife was crying, ready to leave already. And I was like, "Don't worry, Mason Rudolph came out for this drive." Threw a pick 6, and I was like, "All right, let's roll."
But yeah, so I like that a lot, and I think you're not going to find a lot of quarterbacks with his running ability, and from what we've seen, he throws the ball well enough, I think, to be a useful player at that position.
Yeah, it's tricky because you wonder if whoever the new coach is, if they've got a specific quarterback in mind.
Right.
If they hire like an Eric Morris. I forget the name of that North Texas quarterback.
Drew Mestamaker.
Yeah, he is lighting the world on fire right now.
Right.
Does he just want that guy to come with him?
Yeah, does he just have him follow him?
Yeah,
right.
so I think there's a little bit of that in play there. But if you hire a Zach Robinson who's in the NFL game and doesn't necessarily have a preferred college quarterback per se.
He's not going to bring Michael Penix with him.
Maybe Kirk Cousins though.
Maybe so.
You like that? I'd like that.
Yes.
So yeah, but that's the only thing where it could get a little weird. And quarterback is so weird because he's only going to be, if he medical redshirts, he could be a freshman again.
Right.
Which would mean he got 4 years, and then it's sort of tough to recruit maybe outside guys whenever you're like, yeah, we've got this freshman who we really like. So that might get a little weird. So I'm glad I saved him for third, but he deserved to be there nonetheless.
Agreed. Leaves me a little bit complicated. I feel pretty good. I got 3 guys I'm thinking about for my last pick. All kind of mostly circulating around the areas that we've talked about the most. And I'm going to go ahead and go with Demarion Thomas.
I love that.
I think he's a really talented, like nose guard type guy. I think he can fit in any defense, but particularly if you want to get to be doing some 3-man or some multiple stuff up front, I think he fits really good in either of those defenses. Thought really hard about Grant Segrin because especially with the way Doug Meacham has talked about him the last couple of times that we've discussed him. Obviously, he's in the portal playing out the year. We'll see what happens.
Maybe shouldn't have been talking about him so glowingly.
Maybe said he's okay, but he's got a long way to go to steal a Gundy term. And honestly, another guy that I thought really hard about, based mostly on the way Doug Meacham has talked about him, was Royal Capel. I really thought hard about him. But I'm going to go with Thomas because I think a really good interior defensive lineman is very difficult to find, and I think he's going to be a pretty good one.
Yeah, I thought it was super impressive that, to my knowledge, he didn't ever enter the portal. He's just redshirting.
Right.
When I just think it makes so much sense for almost everybody on the roster to enter the portal. Because like I said, you open a negotiating window before the portal opens.
Yes.
So, you're basically telling these coaches, okay, do you like what could be coming in the portal, or do you like this that's actually in the portal?
Yes.
So,
I'm here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact that he stayed and is redshirting, I think is fine. Obviously, this year's a bit of a lost season. I don't have any issues with the guy redshirting. And he's massive.
Yeah, he is.
He is huge. We've been looking at, Colin Clay and Justin Kirkland the last however many years, and those guys are massive.
Right.
But Demarion Thomas is like massive. He is a
he
huge individual. I shook his hand on OSU's media day, and his hand wrapped around my hand like 3 times. He basically shook his own hand. Didn't even know my hand was there. So, I like that. He played really well in his time in, so I think that's a good pick.
Yeah. And I really considered Noah McKinney as well because I do think he was playing really well before the injury and then the portal entrance.
He was playing so well that it made me think maybe Noah McKinney should have been playing
right,
a little earlier.
Right. Yes. Exactly. But it feels like he's not going to be an option for the new staff whenever they get here.
Yeah. Based on he's already got a Final Four or whatever.
Yeah.
That probably doesn't bode well that Oklahoma State is not in that Final Four.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, that's the end of one draft. That brings us to our second draft, which I come back to for this draft every year. It's the only one that I ever repeat. Halloween candy. It's that time of year. I've been seeing people in costumes for a little over a week now, just randomly. But I always love talking about this. It's one of my favorite things. I also need to go buy some to hand out on Friday. I know you're planning to drive up the day of the game. It's a little bit farther drive for me from Oklahoma City. I'm going to drive to Wichita after doing Halloween on Friday night because Halloween is really probably my second favorite holiday behind Christmas.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So we live in like a newer housing district they just built, and so we were so stoked to have trick-or-treaters for the first time. It was the first house we bought. But because we were like one of 5 people who lived in our neighborhood,
Right.
we bought a big bowl of candy last year, kept our light on. We were like waiting at the door all week. Nobody came by. But I think this year it's actually going to happen. So, but with my first pick, it's obvious. It's Reese's. Not much more needs to be said. That's just, it's Reese's.
Perfectly fine. And just to clarify for the folks watching, it is going to be 2 we love and 1 we hate, one that we would like to rid the planet of if possible. I almost went all ones we hate, but then we wouldn't get to talk about the fun stuff that we love, and that's no good. Excellent first pick, no complaints. If it's the little bitty tiny ones, if it's the single packs. If you got a single pack on Halloween, that was sort of that was more like Christmas than Halloween at that point.
And they've got the pumpkin shaped ones.
Right.
They've got all sorts of
absolutely.
Any form of Reese's I will eat. I love peanut butter. I think people who are allergic to peanuts, I feel greatly for those people. Because if that ever happened to me, I think I would just risk it every time.
Right. Yeah. At least once a year, you're just like, I'm going to take a chance. Get like a bottle of Benadryl and the big bag of Reese's and just see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. With my number 1 pick, I'm going to what is always my number 1 pick when we have this draft, the Tootsie Roll. I don't care if it's the little tiniest one, the bar. It doesn't matter. There have been multiple November 1sts in my life where I just ate Tootsie Rolls for breakfast. Okay. I love it any time of year, but Halloween is the easiest time to find it. So
I've been seeing more Tootsie Pop commercials lately, like the old
the
where
old
he walks
one
up
with
the owl.
Yeah.
And it made me like have a deep thought about Tootsie Pop. I didn't necessarily love Tootsie Pops whenever I got to the Tootsie Roll, but I love the Tootsie Pop on the outside. So, but yeah,
totally different animal there, but yeah, I understand that. So, all right, your last pick of the one you love, but second round.
Let's pick the one I love. I was going to go one way or the other. I was going to pick like the little package of Sour Patch Kids. But those are somewhat new additions to the the Halloween rotation.
Right.
So I'm going to go with a little bit older of a rotation piece, the little like 2-pack of Sweet Tarts, or if like the Smartie rolls, they'd sometimes do those with Sweet Tarts in them.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and
Seriously?
I'd love that as well. So any form of Sweet Tart, I think the more normal option is the 2-pack, but I love Sweet Tarts. I really do. So that's my second pick.
Excellent. Oh man, now that's got me thinking because I hadn't even considered Smarties here. Also, didn't realize that they were doing Sweet Tarts like that.
I think it's maybe more of like a Easter thing. If I'm
okay, yeah,
right,
I can see that. Because the 2-pack of the Sweet Tarts was always an exciting find. Rip it, see what colors you got. That was always good. Big fan of there. I do love a Smartie or a pack of Smarties. You don't. Nobody's ever just eaten a Smartie.
Yeah, I don't think it's happened one time.
No, never. I still got to stick with chocolate because that's my biggest weakness. And I'm going with the Twix, the Halloween sized Twix. I love those because it's just the perfect bite. You get all of that, all of the the cookie and the caramel and the chocolate all in there. And it's perfect. I've been really disappointed with Oklahoma State. The press box has not had the Twix ice cream bars since the opener. They had them at the opener, teased us, made us think we were going to get them all year again, and we haven't had them. I've been dealing with ice cream sandwiches, which are great, but they're not a Twix bar.
I didn't even realize I've just been eating ice cream sandwiches every weekend, I think, until this moment. You're right, those haven't been there. So
Texas Tech had them, by the way. Sorry.
They've got it all. That press box food, this is something
ridiculous.
This is something that doesn't get talked a lot about, I imagine, in wherever you guys work. But we discuss very much what the press box food at certain places is like. And Texas Tech does it right, that's for sure.
So they had pizza, they had penne pasta with different sauces and meatballs, and then they just had hamburgers and hot dogs if you didn't want Italian food. And then the dessert selection, the brownies, banana pudding, churros, just some regular cookies. and the ice cream.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
If I hadn't been dealing with the medical issues that we alluded to earlier, I would have eaten a whole lot more over the weekend and love it. So.
Sweet. Okay, so now it's the one that we don't like.
Yes. Wait, did I? Okay, yeah, I picked Twix. Okay. I was making sure I picked. Yes, one you want to get rid of.
This might be controversial, and I'm not even sure it's allowed, given it's already been picked.
Ooh.
I'm not a big Tootsie Roll guy.
Really?
I'm not a big Tootsie Roll guy.
Wow. Very controversial.
It's a confusing taste to me. As I've gotten older, I've started to like them more, and I don't have any issues putting a Tootsie Roll in my mouth. I don't like really candy corn all that much. It's sort of like a similar vibe to that. Like, I'll eat it if it's there. I'm not gonna.
I was gonna allow this till you start comparing Tootsie Rolls to candy corn.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Right. I apologize.
So yeah, I think it started when I was little. Now that I'm a little older, I can handle them more. But if there's like a Tootsie Roll and just about anything else laid out in front of me, I'm gonna search around what else is going on here. So unfortunate, but that's just how I feel.
Hey, I accept it. I understand it, because here's my thought. If I said to you, what does a Tootsie Roll taste like? You can't.
No,
you can't explain it.
Chocolate and whatever that other thing is.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know what
that
that other
no
thing
idea
is.
what it is.
I have no idea.
Because it's clearly only one thing that's in there. No. So I get that. It's like if I said, what does Dr. Pepper taste like?
23 flavors. How am I supposed to name them all?
Exactly. So I view Tootsie Roll much the same way.
The Dr. Pepper of candy.
Yes,
I love
that's
that.
exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is to me. With mine, you mentioned candy corn. That seems like a really easy one. We'll just assume that everybody else wants to get rid of that too. I don't understand how the candy corn people have pulled off this ruse to make people keep buying it.
I'd rather just eat corn. If somebody handed me corn, I'd be like, I'm happier about this than a candy corn.
If I opened up my Halloween bag and there was like a little 3-inch corn on the cob chunk down in there, I would be more happy about that. But I'm gonna get rid of the Whopper.
Ooh, I sort of like Whoppers.
Really?
Yeah.
I enjoy the chocolate flavor of a Whopper. It's kind of a unique type of flavor. It's its own chocolate. But then the ball in the middle, I don't know what that's supposed to be. I don't really enjoy it. Half the time I would just spit it out anyway. I got no use for the Whopper.
It obviously gets all over your teeth, but what in this draft doesn't.
Right.
But I sort of like the crunch through it. I like that aspect of it. I like the feeling of it like breaking in half when you push that far. But you're not the first person that I've heard dislikes Whoppers. I always sort of liked Whoppers. Whenever you got them in the little milk carton, you just dump them out. That's sort of fun.
That was part of why I've eaten them as much as I have, because that's fun. And now that you brought that up, where do you stand on the Milk Dud?
On what?
Milk Dud.
Milk Duds. Ooh. So my mom, and my brother, they would, whenever we'd go to the movies, just dump a thing of Milk Duds into the popcorn. And to me, Milk Duds are sort of in that Tootsie Roll space. So I was picking around the popcorn looking for Milk Duds. So yeah, not a big Milk Dud guy. It's a lot like Tootsie Rolls, where as I've gotten older, it's been manageable. So I can eat some Milk Duds, but I'm not searching out Milk Duds in my daily life.
Yeah. I haven't gone as far to actually research this, but I had some Milk Duds probably last Halloween. It doesn't seem like the caramel is as sticky as it was years ago. And that was always my big problem, because I enjoyed the Milk Dud, but it was so sticky that it was just impossible to fully enjoy it. Once you got past the chocolate, it was just a fight.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem as sticky as what I remembered. So maybe it's gotten better. Another one like the Whopper that I really enjoy the chocolate that they have on it.
Is what?
The chocolate. I enjoy the chocolate they have on
chocolate, Milk Dud, yeah. So I'm trying to think of some stuff we didn't mention. The Twix is really good. I've liked Kit Kats a lot more as I've gotten older.
I'm a big Kit Kat fan.
Yeah, when I was little, Snickers was my favorite candy bar. But since Twix and Kit Kat, I don't even know if I consider Kit Kat it's like, is a hot dog a sandwich? Is a Kit Kat a candy bar? I don't know.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
But I like those. I like dark chocolate more than I like milk chocolate, I've learned. So a lot of good options. Love Halloween.
Yeah.
What a holiday.
I came really close to putting this in the last round that I would get rid of, and I know this is extremely controversial. The Butterfinger.
Ooh,
I cannot stand the Butterfinger.
I like Butterfingers, but it is a mess. Whenever you bite into that, there's just stuff falling everywhere.
Right.
It's somehow flaky whenever you're just looking at it, but when it's in your mouth, it's like the stickiest. It's like you're eating concrete somehow. That's
exactly
forming in your mouth.
Yeah,
but
no, can't stand it.
Yeah, I sort of like it for its taste, but I don't seek it out because of what it does to my face.
I understand that, but when the Reese's is available,
there's
no need for the Butterfinger at that point.
And you could say that for a lot of candies, unfortunately.
That's absolutely.
If there's a Reese's available, I'm going to eat that.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, I think we have exhausted the candy talk in a good way. So I think it's time to shut it down here at Stone Cloud. So thank you for watching. Put your score predictions in the comments. Curious to see how many of you picked the Cowboys to beat the spread, or the Jayhawks to cover that 23.5, or whatever it might be now. Thanks to Marshall Scott from Pistols Firing once again for jumping in here on the podcast, and thank you for watching the Cowboy Chronicle.